Life goes on. I have heard more stories from folks here about everything. Some of it is really sad, but even in its sadness, sometimes there is laughter. One of the sisters that lived in the village visited us quite often, and when she wasn't busy breaking rocks, she did our laundry. I'm not going to lie. Doing laundry by hand is hard, especially for me, having been raised in a washing machine society. I never wash sheets by hand. My light things like lingerie, yes. All that other stuff went to the machine. So for me, this was quite an adjustment. Plus, local folks around us felt that Nana's wife, rich foreigner from America, shouldn't wash her own clothes, but should have a laundry person. So twice a month, the sister came in and washed and did our jobs around our place. Life in the village is hard. There's no industry, no work. To make ends meet, which is basic survival, food for the stomach, many of the women break rocks. The men called rockmen dig out large pieces of rocks and boulders from the ground or the seafront. At least they did until the Department of Ecology stopped them because they were destroying the natural sea defense wall. They had been doing this for years as their primary source of income. The big stones were given to the women who sat in the hot sun all day breaking the stones into small pieces, which were put into piles and sold by the headpan or tipper truck load full for use in construction. It could take many days for one person to break enough stones to fill a truck. This is the story that sister brought from the village one morning. Amma was tired and hungry. It had been a long day breaking rocks in the sun. When she closed at the end of the day, she waited with the other women to be paid by the person they were breaking rocks for. When the man arrived with his truck and they had loaded the stones, the man said, "I will need another load tomorrow." Good, Amma thought to herself, for she desperately needed the money. But she was not prepared for his next words. "I pay all tomorrow," he said. "Master, you say you pay today," said Amma. "I no have money, and my small boys no get food." The man became angry and shouted in her face, "I come tomorrow, you wait," and got into his truck and drove away. This happened quite often. A person would put in a day's work or a month's work, and when it was time to get paid, they had to wait and sometimes did not get paid at all. Amma was crushed. Now what would she do? The children had come to her several times during the day, begging for food, and she had promised them that they would eat tonight. Dog tired, she dragged herself home. The children would be waiting and hungry. What I do, she thought, what will I do? When she arrived home, little Kwaku, age 7, and Kwabena, age 4, were anxiously waiting. Her heart ached, looking forlornly at her children. She decided she could not let them go to bed hungry again tonight. Kwabena, go to Sister Nana's shop and tell her to send 20 CDs of sugar and a cup of gari. Gari is made from oven-dried cassava and looks like hominy grits and swells up when water is put on it. I be pay her tomorrow. It wasn't much, but at least the children would not be hungry tonight. Kwabena was happy to be going to the store. He was a small, thin boy, but he was feeling like a big boy now, for he was going to the store for his mother. Off he ran to Sister Nana's. A half an hour passed, and Kwabena had still not returned. Becoming concerned, Ima told Kwesi to go and find Kwabena. Within 10 minutes, Kwesi returned without Kwabena. Sister Nana said that Kwabena had been to the store, picked up the gari and sugar, and went home over 45 minutes ago. Now, Ama was really upset and called her sister to help her find Kwabena. Stopping everyone she saw, she asked, "Have you seen Kwabena?" And the answer was always the same: no. Where could he be, she wondered. This was a small village. Almost impossible to get lost, but Kwabena could not be found. As they were walking towards the river, Kwabena's best friend, Kofi, appeared. "Have you seen Kwabena?" The little boy looked a little sheepish and mumbled something that Ama could not make out. "Where is Kwabena?" she asked again, her voice raising, this time with a little more force as she grabbed his arm. Kofi started to cry and pointed in the direction of the river. "Show me where Kwabena. Show me where Kwabena," she demanded. The little boy reluctantly led her to where Kwabena was. There he sat, propped up against a coconut tree, barely moving, his little stomach swollen so tight that it shined. His eyes had rolled back in his head. Ama snatched him up in a panic. "What's wrong with him?" she shouted. "What is wrong with him?" By now, little Kofi was crying even harder. "I did do nothing," he cried. "Kwabena, give it for me." "Give you what?" Ama asked him. The gari, stuttered the little boy. There on the ground lay the empty gari and sugar bags and the remains of the food in a large calabash. Kwabena lay limp in his mother's arms. She rushed home with him in a panic, not knowing what to do. When she arrived at the house, her grandmother was there. Taking one look at Kwabena, she took him from Ama, telling her to quickly get an enema pump and water. They would have to pump his stomach immediately. Several hours later, after pushing and pumping his swollen stomach, Kwabena began to come around. Ama was so relieved that he was going to be all right. After Kwabena had dozed off to sleep, she went outside and sat under the almond tree with her grandmother and sister. She started to cry. "Now what I will do," she said. "Kwesi is still hungry. I have debt with Sister Nana because Kwabena bought a cup of sugar and a cup of gari. And it is more than I can spend, and more than Ama would make in a day." Ama had come to see Nana, Bongo and I that morning with her problem. It was a pitiful story, but it was hard to keep a straight face as she related the incident. Ama was a natural comedian, and we couldn't stop laughing as she related the story to us. "Sister, I will keep your Kwabena when he is better," she said. "My money has no there, and the boy chop all the food, and I have to take it back from his stomach for waste. Instead of buying 20 CDs of gari and 20 CDs of sugar, as I tell him, Kwabena take 2 cups at 600 CDs. Sister Nana's looking for her money, and it not there. And we be still hungry," she continued as she patted her stomach and rolled her eyes to the sky. Akumazon, which means I'm hungry. Although Ama was laughing, she was also crying because she didn't have it. By American standards, it was really no money, approximately 45 cents, but for Ama it was plenty. While Sister Ama continued to converse with Nana, I went into the house and returned with enough money for her to pay her bill with Sister Nana and to buy food for her and the children. She thanked us, saying, "When the boy be wake, I be send him to you, for cane him good. If you for cane him, he not be doing this thing no more." Oh no, my sister, not me. You will have to cane him yourself. This was just another day in the life of village living. My people are oh so strong. How many of us from the other side would be able to withstand the pressures and lack of conveniences? Not many, I'm afraid. Village life is simple, but hard. We had been living in our house for several years without electricity. It wasn't that we didn't want electricity. We just did not have the money after we were ripped off during the initial construction of our house. In spite of this, we were happy to be home. And anytime someone visited us and asked why we didn't have lights, Nana's answer was always the same. In order of priority, in order of priority. In the meantime, we do everything by the light of day. It really was not too bad of a problem, for we did not have a computer. I was still using my dad's 45-year-old Royal typewriter, and because we had no refrigerator, we ate what we cooked. And if we didn't finish it at dinner, it usually became breakfast the next morning. When nighttime came around, I was too tired to do anything else but chill out, so candlelight and lanterns worked just fine. One evening, we got a visit from Professor Leonard Jeffries, along with another group who were visiting Ghana as part of a pilgrimage. I recognized a few of the people who had been part of the group from the previous year. As always, it was great to see brothers and sisters from America, to get an update on the happenings back in the hood. Sister Fanny of New York, who had been at our home the previous year, commented about the lack of lights. During this visit with Dr. Jeffy's group, she again asked, "You still don't have lights?" I responded, "We still don't have electricity." "But why?" she continued. But before I could respond again, Dr. Jeffries interrupted. "Didn't I tell y'all they were pioneers," he laughed, "living out here in the wilderness without electricity?" Everyone laughed, but this sister was serious. She continued her remarks by saying that she had been thinking about us living in the dark and that it was of great concern to her. Nana repeated again, "In order of priority, in order of priority." Maybe your priorities are a little mixed up and you really do need electricity. "We're fine," I assured her, thanking her for her concern. "I still can't believe that you don't have electricity," she stated again. "Not yet, but in time," Nana continued. "The finances are just not available at this time." "I know what you mean," she stated with a serious look on her face, "when you said in order of priority." "But we're doing fine," I assured her again. We had a good visit with them staying a little longer before going on their way. It was always a treat to get visitors. Everyone started laughing. Before the group left, Sister Fanny pulled me over to the side and asked me, how much would it cost to install our electricity? My response to her was between $700 and $800, for it entailed rewiring the whole house, buying all the fittings and equipment, and hiring an electrician. "Well, if it's all right with you, when I get back to the United States, I'd like to send you and Nana the money to turn your lights on." "Thank you so much for your concern, but don't worry about us, we're fine." What a wonderful gesture, I thought to myself after she had gone. Nana, Bongo, and I talked about her concern for us, and we were deeply touched. If she sent the money, we would be happy. If she didn't send it, we would still be happy, for she had cared enough to ask. Many times people would visit us, promise to do or send things, and it just didn't happen. But we understood. For when they arrived back to the United States, the reality of things hits you smack in the face, and all good intentions had to be redirected to their day-to-day survival. Life in America, for a large majority of us, was not easy. However, several weeks later, we received a letter from Fanny. She sent a check for $500 with the hopes that we could do something with that. We hollered and shouted, danced and sang. Sister Fanny said she was coming for Panafest, and we invited her to stay with us. "We not want mistress to come and saw no lights," Bongo said. We immediately engaged Tony, a brother and qualified electrician from our village, who helped us to purchase the equipment, rewired our house, and installed all the lighting. After being without lights for the past 3 years, we had finally come out of the dark. On the 16th of December 1994, our home was ablaze with new light, all thanks and praise to the Creator and the love and caring of our Sister Fanny. Unfortunately, Sister Fanny did not make it to Panafest, but we got a surprise angel's visit from our daughter, Sister Elmina, who had come with a group who was participating in Panafest. She walked in the door all smiles. Everyone was shouting, "Irie Star, my little granddaughter," called Bongo Man. "'Tis good to see the eye once more. Welcome home." "'Tis good to be here, family," she replied. "It was cold and damp in London. I couldn't wait to get here." She looked a little tired and had lost a little weight. She said that she had been suffering with asthma since we had seen her last, and she was tired. "Well, you're in the right place, girl," I said. "This is home, and here you can retreat from the outside world." "That's exactly what I need," she answered. "And as soon as this group is finished with Panafest and returns to London, that's exactly what I'm going to do." We spent part of the night laughing and talking and bringing one another up to date, finally retiring well after midnight. It was good to see her again. The following morning, she was off and running, but before she left, she had begun to do some videotaping of Bongo. "The eye should take time," Bongo told her. "There's no place to go in such a hurry. Them people them can wait pon the queen. The eye need to take time. 'Tis only one life the eye have, Star," he continued. But she assured Bongo that she was going to take care of herself and return home to us on the 5th of January after the group had returned to London. But Bongo had seen something on her and tried to warn her, but she insisted that she was fine. It was a busy time. We had other visitors from the United States, and people were dropping in because of Panafest. People were everywhere, sleeping in hammocks, on the floor, in the chair, and the time just flew by. I saw Sister Elmina again in Accra during the closing ceremonies of Panafest, and she told me again that she was coming home very soon. She wanted Nana and I to go to a party with her, but I begged off because I was too tired, and all I wanted was my bed. We said goodnight, promising to get together real soon. The following day, Nana and I returned home to Cape Coast. Several days later, while I was sitting at my desk trying to catch up on some work, a friend of Sister Elmina showed up. Ago, she called. "I'm in," I responded. "It's good to see you." "So Sister Elmina has finally brought her tired little butt home," I continued, looking around for her. But she just stood there, looking at me very strangely, not saying anything. Finally, she responded, "I came myself." "Oh, really? All alone?" I questioned. "And what do I owe the pleasure of this visit? Just what is your mission?" I said jokingly. Again, that strange look crossed her face. After a few moments, she quietly responded, "Judah sent me. Elmina is dead." It was as though someone had knocked the breath out of me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What happened? How did this happen? I asked excitedly. Is this some kind of bad joke? If it is, I don't think this crap is funny. It's no joke, she said. She dies this morning in hospital at Kalibu. I broke down crying. It was so unbelievable. And to make it even more unbelievable, she had died exactly 15 years to the day that we had lost our daughter, Shay, 15 years before. She and Shay had also borne a striking resemblance. I was devastated. I finally got myself together enough to be able to tell Nana and Bongo. Bongo was not surprised. He just kept saying, "She nah listen." She just would not listen, and now she's gone. Her funeral was held the following week in Accra, and I couldn't bring myself to go. It was like I was still waiting for her to walk through the door, but she never appeared, and life went on as usual. A few weeks later, we got word from New York that a friend of ours, Minister Brown, who had stayed with us during Panifest, had gotten very ill when he returned to New York. In fact, he had been seriously ill for weeks, and the doctors couldn't seem to find out what his problem was. His wife was a nurse, and she was frantic. He was running very high fevers and growing weaker every day. Each time she took him to the emergency, they sent him home with aspirin and antibiotics. One day, his wife was at work after having been off for several days taking care of him when one of her co-workers inquired about him. "Girl, he's real sick, and no one seems to know what his problem is. He recently returned from Ghana and hasn't been the same since." "Ghana?" the co-worker asked, surprise in her voice. "Yes," his wife Viola replied. "My sister just died of cerebral malaria in Ghana," her co-worker stated. "You go home and get him and bring him back here to the hospital immediately. I'll inform the supervisor and notify the infectious disease physician." Viola brought Minister Brown into the hospital, where he remained for several weeks. He was diagnosed with cerebral malaria. God is so good, and the spirit of the ancestors intervened. Sister Elmina and Minister Brown had both been visiting our place during the same period and had been talking about doing some projects together as they were in the same business. It was ironic and a blessing that the families of these two people would be in the same place at the same time to save the life of the other. There are so many stories to tell about living in Ghana, for there has been one adventure after the other. Like the first time Minister Brown visited our house in Elmina, he had a panic attack. It was early in the morning when he came running back to the house screaming, "They're everywhere! They're everywhere!" he shouted. "Calm down, my brother," I said. "What's the problem?" "They're everywhere! They're all over the rocks in front of the house," he continued. Who, I wanted to know. White people, plenty of them, and they all got Bibles. Come see for yourself." I couldn't imagine, but what I saw when I got to the edge of the lawn was unsettling. There on the rocks in front of our house were at least 25 white women dressed in pink bonnets and long pink dresses looking like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms. It looked like an invasion, and they all had Bibles in their hand. They were also a few clean-shaven, white, pink men. "Kiss my foot," I said aloud. Where the hell did they come from? And what did they want? And more were joining the group. They had come from the mission house next door to our house. A couple of years before, A parcel of land we were trying to secure was sold to these white folks. They were missionaries who had come to Africa to save the souls of the heathen. On the front of their house was a biblical quote, "At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow." "Lord, Lord, give me strength," I said. In the meantime, Minister Brown was livid. "I don't believe this," he sputtered. "Neither do I, my brother. Neither do I." Speaking aloud, I asked the Creator, "Is this another test, Mother? Is this another test, Father? Have I done something wrong? We've been blessed with the opportunity to return to the ancestral homeland, to escape to the African side of the globe, where my next door neighbors are white folks." Something was wrong with this picture, but wrong or otherwise, like it or not, they are our neighbors. I stay in my yard and I discourage them from interfering in our affairs. White folks don't want us around them in America, yet they seem to be following us to Africa. However, they see what we don't see and have been returning in their numbers to be a part of the recolonization of Africa and her children. I was jumping for joy when my sister friend Kanaya stopped by. We'd known each other for several years since our repatriation to Ghana. She had also repatriated from Philadelphia in 1993 with her Ghanaian husband Brima, who was a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Our relationship was like family, for there weren't many of us returnees living in the Cape Coast Elmina area from America. In fact, there weren't many of us in Ghana for that matter. We were a support network for each other, rechanging one another's batteries when the difficulties of return and or the reacclimation process began to wear on us, to wear one of us down, as it sometimes could do. "Hey, girlfriend," I said, jumping and dancing around like a child. "Got some good news. Got some good cash, baby," I continued. "Got a little money to do something with." "Assalamu alaikum," she responded. "Well, I sure visioned you in my dream, and you were really happy too. I didn't know what it was that was making you so happy, but it was a good dream." "Well, thanks for that one, honey. You and your dreams are right on target." Again, I laughed. "Well, I was just trying to figure out what I was going to spend this cash on." "Wait a minute now, Miss Thing. I'm not trying to tell you how to spend your money, but let me help you. Let me help to put you back on the right track. First of all, establish your priorities," she said. "Priorities? Oh, yeah, right, priorities," I laughed. "Well, it's been established, my sister. I'm buying me something special and pretty." "No, seriously, Ima," she continued. "What about your kitchen? Didn't you say that you needed to do something badly in there?" Slowly easing back into reality, I walked to the kitchen door and peeked inside. She was right. My kitchen really did need some help. What I needed was a sink and running water. Over time, I had grown accustomed to washing dishes in two large pans, one for wash and the other for rinse, and hauling water in from outside. I had completely forgotten about a much-needed sink. "You got a point, Sister Kay. I think I will look for that sink. This just might be enough money," I said. "Thanks for the wake-up call. Besides, I really didn't need any more clothing." Not really. The following day, our partner Kweku went to Accra and came back with a beautiful, shining double sink. I was ecstatic, and even more so when he told me that I had a balance, change, left over. I just might get me something pretty after all. We contacted the plumber, and within 2 weeks, we had a sink and running water in the kitchen. We made a big ceremony out of the installation, tossing the dishpans into the yard, turning the tap off and on like a mischievous child. Water, anyone? I laughed. Just then Sister Kanaya appeared. "I'll go," she called out. "What's going on?" But before anyone could answer, she spotted the sink and started singing and dancing and whooping, happy sounds that we Africans make when we're celebrating. She danced around the kitchen, touching the sink, turning the water, and got into some real heavy African dance of thanks and appreciation. Before it was over, she, Mama D, and I were all dancing, beating pots and pans, and having a good old time. Just another positive step in our progress. Who would have ever thought that the installation of a kitchen sink could evoke such joy and laughter? "You go, girl," Kanaya said, breathing hard. We were all laughing and cutting up as we embraced one another. Nana, Bongo, and Kwaku stood there, joining in the laughter. "Yes, mistress," Bongo commented. "Me can see that the eye is happy, happy, happy. Ja know, me happy too. All are we happy?" "Well, we're making progress," Nana said. "Nothing before its time." And that's how it's been, a little at a time. We don't just go through each experience, we grow through it. Today we got some real great news. Kohen Netanya Halevi, our friend, priest, and rabbi, had made the ultimate sacrifice, and after 7 years and 14 trips across the watery grave of our ancestors, had repatriated home to Ghana. Not only had he returned home, but we were neighbors, and he was building his first home in Ghana, about 100 feet down the road from us. Of our original group who made the first pilgrimage in 1987, only 3 of us had returned home. This return, again, was not without pain and suffering in the midst of the blessing. Within the joy of being home once more. Unfortunately, he had come alone, and like those of us before him, he had left behind family, friends, and community. These were those who did not share his vision of returning to one's ancestral homeland, and others who were tied so tightly to the everyday struggle of day-to-day survival in America that there was no room to be able to put aside something that would even allow for their exodus. The most that we could hope for was a vacation, and that was not without years of savings to make the trip. Sadly, because travel to Africa was so expensive, it would not even allow for the entire family to visit together. The struggle continues. Knock, knock. Having been born in the Western Hemisphere, there are so many things not a part of my life as an African in America. So much of my culture was lost to me. So in my return home, I was overjoyed as I was introduced to other facets of the Ghanaian African culture. One of them was a marriage proposal and ceremony called knocking. The first time I heard that expression, I laughed and thought back to the caveman days of the barbarian knocking his mate in the head and carrying her off to his cave dwelling. Well, at least that's the picture that had been painted for us growing up in the United States. But I was in for a pleasant surprise. I had attended at least one wedding since my return home, but it was a very Western-style ceremony. Although it was a lovely wedding, I must admit I was a little disappointed. While visiting friends in Accra, our friend, Cliff, informed me that he wanted to get married. IMAHKÜS, I met this wonderful sister, and we want to get married. This is my first time, and I have to take my family to meet her family. You know I don't have any family here. Would you and Dolores, another friend of ours, go with me and act as my family? She told me that I have to go knocking for her and that this is their custom. They want me to bring money and stuff, but I'm too nervous and I don't want to screw things up, he continued. Sis, I really need your help. Cliff said he was not fully versed on the process, but he knew that he had to take gifts to the household. I was thrilled at the prospect. With about 6 weeks to prepare myself, I began gathering as much information as possible so that I could represent the brother and our family properly. The bride-to-be was a Ga woman and the granddaughter of a chief. The Ga people come from the greater Accra area. The brother was an African who had been born in the United States and had repatriated. Now here is where I immediately began to have problems. Being from the central region of Ghana and Fanti country, they do things a little different from the Ga people. First mistake, I asked my Fanti friends about how to go about this knocking process and what we would need. They told me to take an envelope with about 10,000 CDs worth about $3 in 1997 and a couple of bottles of schnapps, local liquor, and present that to the family when I accompanied my friend. Oh, is that all? I asked. Yes, came the response, and that's all that's necessary. Isn't that kind of small? I asked. I sure think the bride would be worth more than that. It's just ceremony, they said. After that, they will have a wedding. But for some reason, I wasn't quite satisfied with those answers. But if that was the culture, that was the culture. On my next visit to Accra, I talked with my friend Rosemary about how I was preparing to do, and because she is a Ga woman also. My sister, she said in a shocked tone, you will be disgraced if you go like that, and they will not let your brother have their daughter. She is a Ga woman and the granddaughter of a chief. You have to go right or not at all. Help me, I implored. I've never done this before, and I don't want to look like a foolish foreigner. This was the analogy she used. Just imagine that you're walking past a flower garden and you see this beautiful flower and you want to smell it or to know it. You just can't go in and pluck it. You have to go to the gardener and speak to him. You knock on his gate. Sir, I have seen a beautiful flower in your garden. I would like to have it. At that time, he will invite you to come and discuss the matter in full detail. So my friend's fiance was the flower, and the gardener was her family. And you never go to the gardener, to the family, with empty hands, she continued. Plus, this was a very special flower, the granddaughter of a chief. Rosemary also told me that I would have to take money, at least 30 to 50,000 CDs, $15 to $25 US at that time, several bottles of imported liquor, a case of minerals, soda, and a couple of cases of beer. You want to make a good showing, or you will be disgraced, and the girl will be very unhappy, for the family will not let your brother have her, my friend continued. Don't worry, girlfriend, I'm going to do this right. After all, I've come home, and if this is the way things are done, I have no choice but to do it right. We both had a good laugh out of that one. You can get in touch with me if you run into any more problems, she said. Don't worry, you can count on it. As the day grew nearer, everyone was growing more than a little excited. Nana, my better half, kept pumping up my balloon. That's my girl, always in the mix. You go, girl, go get 'em. Get that bride, baby, he teased. Go knock down that door. Nana was always messing with me, pumping up my balloon, encouraging me, and true to form, I was always getting into stuff. Even the bride-to-be went over the procedure with us, assuring me that everything would be all right. On the day of the ceremony, nothing went right. The car broke down. The basket to put the liquor in was too small. My friend, the groom, misplaced the money. You name it, it went wrong. Not to be outdone, I put my creative juices to work. I sent to a local shop on the avenue and bought a large blue plastic basket. Picked up some large leaves and flowers out of the garden to line the basket with. We got together the money, but couldn't find a decent envelope to put it in. Back to the garden I went and got a large banana leaf, which I folded into an envelope and put in the money. Tied some colorful ribbons on the basket, and we were good to go, or so I thought. The car still had not been fixed, and the time was passing. The last thing we wanted to do was be late. It was all right to be a little or respectfully late, as I call it, but not hours late. The ancestors were on our side. There was a hotel in the area that had a car service, so we sent someone to charter a car for the occasion. It could not have been more perfect. At the designated hour, we were more than a little antsy, waiting for the taxi to arrive. Man, oh man, did we get a surprise when this baby blue Mercedes-Benz pulled into the yard. Baby blue basket, baby blue Benz. It couldn't be more perfect. When we arrived at the home of the family, several of the family were waiting to escort us inside. We were a few minutes late because we had forgotten to put film in the camera and had to stop and buy some. But everything was fine. As we entered the house, the groom-to-be, another sister acting as his family, another friend and I were shown to our seats. A member of the family came out and offered us water as we waited. Next, an elder aunt, or senior mother, as aunties are called here in Ghana, of the bride came in. She was very stern looking as she walked around, shaking the hand of each of us. You are welcome to our house, she said. The others will come. She then went and sat down on the other side of the room, looking carefully at each of us. Boy, I sure wouldn't want her angry with me, I thought to myself. After a short time, the rest of the family entered, and each one of them in turn greeted us. After welcoming us to the house, the head of the family officially welcomed us and asked, "Is anyone in pursuit of you?" We looked questionably at one another. Before I responded, "Oh, no, sir. No one is chasing us." Once that was out of the way, he continued, "Then what is your mission? Why have you come to see us today?" I thought that a little strange to ask, for I thought they all knew why we were there. But as the senior sister and acting as the head of our family, I proceeded to explain our mission. Introducing myself as the head of the family, I explained that my brother was a very serious and responsible man who had passed their garden and wanted to take one of their beautiful flowers home. The family members laughed. "Oh, you are truly a Ghanaian. You have tried." The ice was broken. "Yes," I continued, "my brother wants to marry your daughter. and as custom demands, we have come forward to meet the family. We have also brought gifts of money, drinks, and flowers for the household. They were quite impressed with the presentation. And when the leaf was open and they found money inside, everyone laughed and talked about how different it was. Now that the family had accepted us, I asked if we couldn't see what our gifts had brought. Her mother then brought in the girl. Everyone oohed and awed and carried on about how nice she was and how pretty she was and how she would be a perfect wife for our brother. We had a wonderful time. Refreshments were then served. But she wasn't our brother's wife yet. He could not take the flower from the garden today. The family now had to digest everything and let him know what else he had to bring. After all, we had only brought the knocking gifts to get him in the door. Next, he would have to bring much more, and they would let us know in due time just what that was. Well, one thing for sure, we had made a good first impression. We left congratulating each other on a job well done. Several days later, he was called to the family house to meet with the girl's mother, senior mothers, junior mothers, grandmother, junior and senior mothers are the sisters of the mother or aunts, as we know them in the West. At this time, he received his list as follows: 6 half pieces, 6 yards of cloth, a steam iron, pots and pans, a suitcase to put her things in, dishes, tablecloth and napkins, and a little money for the family. Up to that point, we were fine, almost. My brother had to dig deep and come up with some of these things, or the flower would not be his. But why money, I asked. It's just a token, but you must give her mother something, for she brought her into the world and raised her to be the kind of woman your brother wants to marry. And her father took care of her and provided food and shelter and discipline. Her brothers and sisters, because they were also involved in the process of raising her. Her big brothers protected her and looked out for her, and her sisters were there also, so she was never alone. And her grandmother, being the elder and a wise woman, has counseled her along with her mother on how to be a good person, a good woman, a good wife that any man would be proud to have. So Dad got 15,000 CDs, Mother got 10,000 CDs, Grandmother got 5,000 CDs, and each of the brothers and sisters got 1,000 CDs each, for a grand total of approximately $20 US. When Cliff brought all that was required, he went home to await his new bride. Later that evening, she was brought to him at her new home. They were both given token gifts from her family. She was given a fan in which to cool him off when he came in from work, hot and tired, or was angry or upset. And he was given a small cane to beat her with if she did not behave as a proper wife. This is where I disagree with the custom. However, in spite of what I think, traditionally she was his wife. There would be a reception at a later date in which friends and family will get together to celebrate. It is not necessary to have a Western-style wedding unless you want it. There were no blood tests required, nor licenses to secure. They were legally wed in the eyes of God and the community. I was happy for them both and elated that I had been asked to be part of the ceremony. Returning home to Elmina, I'd see them again when they had the reception.